Oh, hello everyone. Yeah, today I'm just going to go through, I don't know how long this is going to be, it's not that big a deal, but finding basic stuff on the Studiolive 24. This is the Presonus. This is what you can use instead of a regular mixer. You have to use a laptop with it though, because that's actually the control surface for it. As you can see, it says 24R, that's actually 24 channels. It's got more than that, but that's what you use on this one. As you can see, I got it set up with various things on it. Let me go ahead and pan it through so you kind of get an idea. Okay, see that? Yeah. And I'm using a small boss. That's for the click. And then I also have a one, let me move back over here. See if I can get it a little bit closer for you. Anyway, and they also have a percussion pad that also has all the effects I use for percussion, clap and side stick and a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, that's for that one there. These aren't correct yet. I'm still working through some of the things. The guitar, I'm putting in a guitar, and then I'm also going to do a DI box for it so it can go direct into it, which it will do. So you don't have to use a DI, you just plug the guitar right in or the bass right in. And then I'm going to move these over a little more and have a bass, and I'm going to make that a bass DI, and then I'll make it a bass high and a bass low. I use a 12 and an 18 that I mic up plus a room mic, so maybe four different mics for that. And then the vocal mics, I'll change those up, move them down a little farther. I've got them labeled on the board thing that you use. It's called a control surface, universal control surface that Presonus use. But anyway, I've got this is a magnetic strip, so I can just stick them on wherever I want. That way you don't have to actually stick them onto this thing here. This is not metallic. So as far as magnetic, you can't stick this thing on here, it'll just fall off. It doesn't work. So I had to put a strip on so I could at least magnetize them. And then if I want to change them around or whatever, you just move the little tag things wherever you want. On the controller, it has not only the icons of, if you want, in this case, if I want a floor tom, right? It actually has a little floor tom, and it will say floor tom on it. Or you could change what you want it to say, but still the icon will be there. So you'll see that in a little bit. That'll show you. This is going to be a couple times before I finally get over to that side. Anyway, and that's basically it. Now they make a 16, I think, and they make a 32. But for what I'm using right now, especially if you're doing recording, if you're doing live stuff and you need more channels, probably would start with the 32, and then you can gang it together. But I'm not going to deal with that for right now. It's just basically so you kind of understand what's going on. Now, if I scan back over here, you do have the headphone thing. The headphone thing, you can make it. I've got it set up so it does exactly what the main outs, which I have left and right out. It's actually a Canon plug, not a 1/4 inch, like the rest of the auxiliary outs are. Excuse me. And you have a mute all, and that is exactly what it says. It lights up even. But what the mute all does is it kills everything. So if you want to get it, and you're doing live sound, and you want everything dead, so you can set stuff up or get everything set up on your board, you don't have to have it coming through the PA. You can also kill them on the board itself, on the controller surface itself. You can kill everything individually or put it in groups. Pretty much what you could do in the big Midas boards or the big, if you go to Alan Heath, I think is the name of the company. There's a couple other ones where they do the same thing. The good thing about this is a dual processor in here, a dual. And the 32, I don't think the 32 it might, but they make the regular board does come in a quad configuration. Remember, yeah, dual may not be cool if you're talking about a full computer, but all this has to do is process what's in here. And the processing that's in here allows you to EQ up everything, and not by just EQ. They've got 5 different in the fat channels, unlike on a board. You know, if you get the Presonus 16, 2, and 1, or whatever it is, you only have one basic fat channel, that has a bunch of stuff, you know, that you can do, compressor and limiter and all that stuff, yes, per channel. But on the U controller, which is built into here, you actually have 5 different compressors, 5 different EQs. Let me see, there's a couple other ones. I basically used just one type of compressor and one type of EQ on the UP surface that you do with this. And that's because I just like the tones of it. It's easy to control. It's easy to spot. Now, if I scan up, well, before I do that, see these little 2 dots? That tells you that, and I'm using a USB hookup for the into the, I'm not using a Ethernet cable. I'm using a USB cable. Can't go past 6 to 8 feet. This thing, the way it's set up, is even though it looks like a printer USB on the back, which is what it is, but it will not go to anything but 6 feet going into your laptop or computer. So you got to remember that you can't run. You can't run 15. You can't use an extender. There's nothing I found on the market that will allow you to make a longer USB connection, because the printer thing on the back of this makes it almost impossible. Now, it'd be cool if they actually came with the small Type-C connectors, which is really nice. You can use them back and forth, similar to what you find in a phone, but a better connector, and also carries better. That one you could actually run into if you have. I have a laptop that has a couple of those ports on it. Macintosh comes with several Thunderbolts and stuff, and the Type-Cs. That's a 3 or 3.1 type USB connector. Anyway, you probably would be able to get a longer cord on it, because it would deliver the signal better, but it will not deliver a signal past 5, 6, 7 feet, somewhere in there. I've tried a bunch of different ones. Nothing works. So anyway, and what you have is you have the 2 little dots. The one just is a power dot. This one little one on the right is a power dot, I believe. This other one next to it, this other blue, is telling you that the computer is connected to the computer through USB. That's what that means. Okay. Now there's some other ones that record and stuff and playback and things, but I'm not going to deal with that right now. Now, if you go up here to, let's back this off a little bit. Nope, wrong way. To over here. See, let me enlarge that just a hair. Now, because this has no metering on or anything, and you do have meters on the universal controller, which tells you what the output's doing. But if you're really trying to track everything and stuff, and there's a lot of visualization that's available on the universal controller, and they did fix the metering system, so it actually responds correctly now. They just did that maybe within the last week. They've upgraded the controller, so now it works really, really well. But what I have here, and I'll show you this, put on a rolling. Okay. Yeah, and so this is basically what you have. I've got this going here. I had to stop for a little bit to do some other stuff. Let me see if I can't get this aligned better, though, so I'm not sideways. Anyway, there's that, and here's some music that I've got on the thing. This is original that was done back when in the studio. Now I've got it set up that the keyboard here, not that one, this one here, it's actually a one used for gaming and stuff. It's a G15, as you can see, that one. Anyway, and I've got it set up with all the quick short keys and stuff, and I changed a bunch of the function keys around, and I've got that one hooked up to the stop and go for the transport. But as you can see, it's showing, reading, so I get a closer look at it. And I have some compression on the main outs. That's the one all the way over here on the right. It says main. This is where it's coming in from the computer. And it's going out to the vent. And the main is, I'm going to go over there in a second. And that's actually the main level. These meters now, which I explained just a little bit ago, respond perfectly now. It used to be like a 0.5 second delay, but not anymore. Anyway, and the reason why I have the EQ set up for the main, as you can see, you can read it.
You always made your friends feel better, but now they don't have much to say. Just stand and
so I have some other monitors I use. Also, I have
Jenny, I know you didn't want to say goodbye, didn't want to make anyone cry. Well, leave this home where you used to be. Jenny, you know there's a hole in all my dreams, a place that somehow seems to leave me blind. I can see.
Anyway, when these are running, I'll work on that. I'm going to have to edit this down anyway. When this is running, the reason why I have, this is the Behringer Pro, and it's got a feedback circuit built into it so that if anything's feeding back, you can see it. The reason why I got this one instead, I have the regular one, is because I wanted to be able to distinguish if I am getting feedbacks, it will pop up. There is nothing like that on the control surface and built into here. They have nothing, no EQ. They have a bunch of EQs, like a 1/3 band EQ built into the unit, but it does not have any way of regulating what the feedback points are. That doesn't happen. I know on the Soundcraft it does, but not on this one. Sorry, not on the EPC Crow. And the reason why I bought this also is because it has meters on both outputs. This is connected to the output of this unit. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, we'll back it off just a little bit. There we go. Move it over just a little bit and down. Yeah, this thing's connected to the output, the stereo left and right output, main outs on the live board. So what it does is it goes from here into left and right. So left and right on this one to left and right here, and then from here it goes into the power amp. And I have a 2,000 or 3,000 watt power amp that's down here, and I just plug it in and I run the system depending on what configuration and stuff I'm doing. The great thing about it doing this way is you can't, with it, just by, if you're looking at other stuff and seeing what your recording is doing and stuff, you can look over and immediately see if you've got levels going. If you're doing front of house, it's automatically, you can tell exactly what's happening. Pretty much like you do with most analog boards, is you get you get an analog signal. Now the good thing about that is it visually will tell you what's happening immediately, and you can adjust things all the way through it. All your levels and stuff are immediately it's pretty tactile, so you don't have to worry about, I'm going to kill some of these things. I keep those down, especially depending on if I'm not doing a big place or anything like that. I don't want it really taking the plaster off the ceilings and stuff. So basically I drop everything below 31, and if you do, you can also boost it on the main output. It has boost. It has an EQ section where you can do that up. Like I said, I don't usually use that. I just use the common ones that I tend to. They're kind of like an analog EQ for it anyway. But anyway, it will show all of the meter levels, so you can set your 0 dB stuff to make sure that the system is EQ'd up properly, and then you go back and you can do that same thing to your main mix. when you're doing the main outs and stuff. You can go back and set it up so it reads 0. Remember, in the digital system, which this all is anyway, this is just the output of it. It doesn't affect anything that's happening digitally in that realm at all. This is only the output of the unit. Now, you might want to have a couple that, or just get meters that have, so you can run the outputs of these into the meters, and then just like a Y cord, you can have it set up. So that way you can have meters that tell you what, if you have output on each of the auxiliary sends, or you don't. It just makes it easy. You can say if there's any problems. You also have the same advantage on the UP controller too. So anyway, that's what I use on that one. Now EQ, they go into the power app. That's the way I always run them. And so here's all your different things. I have my control room out, which is actually just checks the monitor stuff. And here's the cable that you have for the USB. It's a printer cable. That's all it is. And the printer cable, it goes into, plugs into the laptop. That's what I'm using for that. That's fine. And of course the power thing. I have some labels on them and stuff. The important thing to remember on this is the AVB, I think is what they call it. You have to have excuse me, you have to have a laptop or a computer like Macintosh that it's like Dante. You have to be able to, that will accept the signal. It has to be embedded in your system. Windows does not make anything that this will work with. This works with the Presonus big boards that they use, and it also works with the Macintosh because they're also set up for that. Then you have your regular Ethernet line. If you want to plug that into your board, there is no wireless built on this. You can run this into a wireless unit, and then your laptop would pick it up. But when you run this one into your laptop, you can't run a separate signal. Like it's not really set up to run your wireless thing. At controller then is cut off, so you can't do the two things at the same time. You can't run the Ethernet cable into that, plus you run your wireless. If you're doing internet stuff or whatever, it won't do that. It'll take one or the other. They say it's supposed to. I haven't been able to get it to work like that. Anyway, that's what that is. I'll be back and do more of a thing on this later. Back here. We have this is the internet controller. Let me see if I can move it back here so you can see it a little better. Pew. There we go. And I have this set up for this monitor over here. And it has, basically it has 16 outputs. And each output is a layer. So going on this one here, I'm using for this monitor, which I just called it event monitor because that's what that's called. That's an event. That is just my basic composite monitor as far as getting both sounds together. Anyway, you have that. Then you have your main outs. The effects A can be turned on and off, and that just takes the bleed off from the main board. Which if I hit this, and then let's go down here a little bit. You see all these little things. This is what the unit itself is set up for. Now right below it, you'll see this little slider thing. That just moves the whole thing along. So you can set it up. I always keep it right about there. This little arrow thing gets rid of this whole side pane. So if you kill it, then I just move back over here again. Right? I'm using this here. Anyway, let's move that back. This little arrow here to the right will bring all your side effects, talk, assign, the mutes, all the mutes are separate, by the way, the A, B, and C mutes, and that's basically for your effects. So, and if you can get to mutes itself and called mute groups, and that allows you to do, say you want to mute all the drums at the same time. Rather than go and click them on, you can do a sub through there and kill the sub that way. But you can also include those particular things on just one group. Say you want all the instruments dead, but you don't want the vocals dead, you can put those on group 2 and make them all group. Now those groups can be assigned with names too. So don't be worried if, it's, well, what group am I on or whatever. No, you can put, hey, drum group, drum mute. And it's hit that, and it will allow you to do all that stuff. Anyway, let's get rid of that now. And of course, when you unmute it or mute it, this will turn off and on. That's all. That's great. It has 4 subs on it. 4 subs, so you can do four regular subs for your. If you're doing all your drums, you can put your all the vocals on it. You can do the same thing if you're doing guitars and stuff. You can put those on, and then it's got. Let me see if I can find it here. Where are the mixes? Not there. The thing. Where is the one? It's good. Oh, groups. There we go. All the DCA groups you have, and those allow you to take and. Basically, it doesn't change what you're doing on the system. It just takes the voltages down, like if you're doing DCAs on a big console and stuff. But you cannot, on a DCA, you cannot add compression. You can't add EQ. It's just, all it is just a basic voltage controller. That's what it's assigned to do. And there's 24 of them. So you can do 24 different DCA groups in the thing. Those are somewhere else. I'll do that on another thing. I'm not trying to get involved with telling you what each and everything does right now. Right now, I'm just trying to get it. So you got to get an overlay of what it was. It was hard to find all the stuff when I was looking for it. Everybody just assumes everything like this is done. Well, that's not true. Anyway, I put this back on mixes. Then I go back here and click it one more time, and we're already here. On the event monitor, that's what I always use. And I just bring this back because I'm looking at, and I got the computer, which is a digital thing. That's actually the USB going from there into here. And what I'm have it set up for is I have I can't remember what channel, auxiliary send 1 or 3, whatever. That's the event monitor. I have this thing going to event monitor now. The whole idea is every one of these 16 channels that you have, 16 auxiliary sends, can go to whatever output you want, and they'll show up all the same. The whole panel's all the same. I'll just show you. You take this little bar here, you just pan it all the way to the right or left, and it will show you everything that's on that particular thing, and it just correlates to what you already have in the head unit. Okay, now the thing to be able to do change names and stuff, just go up here to the where I've got it listed to show. Move it over just a hair more, about the same. Anyway, it says event monitor. See if I can't get that a little higher. Anyway, this event monitor, you just go over here to the event monitor, and much like you do when you're doing a Word, you're making a Word's Microsoft Word thing. You go over here and just click it, and you can name it anything you want. That's how that works. And then just when you're done, just unclick it, get out of it, and it will show up down here on the channel. I'm using this one here, auxiliary 1, which I just renamed, and it'll say events monitor. It also has a meter for the output. Same thing here. It's the same meter, it's just in a smaller format. And also down here, where you have A1, I think is what it is, it will show up in this one too. So all your meters are going to be available on the bottom. If I can just keep from hitting the taskbar. Anyway, everything shows up on the bottom here. And that will show all your levels of anything that's on this particular group. In other words, if you're on this particular, you're in auxiliary 1, so everything on auxiliary 1 if it's running or not. Anyway, if it's running, it will show meter levels. There's another way you can get into it if you want to see the meter levels, and that's all you want to see, which sometimes you just want to do, and it's easier to spot. You can go ahead and boing up. Let me see if I can do it here, because some of them, I think, let's go here first, and let's see if we can find meters. And it says meters. And that's all the meters that are available for everything. This is your main, and then you have the main out, and then individual sends all have meters for those two. But everything that can have a meter to it is available, and it will show up. And this little gear thing, that just gets you in and out of all these things here. So I'm going back to the mixer, and that puts you here back in the mixer. Now, if you look at this, it's like one of the old, almost like the old DBX things. Anyway, I like this one a lot because it's the only one out of, and they got 5, I think. If you go in, when you go into the main page at Presonus, after you register the product, and you have to register to get the UP Surface, which I'm going to boing up now. On this other thing here. There we go. Which, when you do that, let me see if I can I'll move this over now, is that thing there. On the universal controller thing, it will come up, and this will show the units that you have. In other words, 24R, which is Studiolive 24R, which is what I got. Anyway, it will actually show up there. Now, to be able to get it to connect, just go on it and click it. Double click it, a little thing will show up. I'll even show you what's going on. The only way you can get this to reset is you got to quit it. You can't, because once you close it up and stuff, that thing will not accept anything. It doesn't recognize the USB until you're out of it. And the only way to get out of it is to quit it. So you quit it, that kills everything. But the Presonus keeps all the information. Remember, this is only a control surface. It's not going through your CPU on your computer. That's the only thing. I mean, it's really, really like such a basic, it's almost like DOS. It's so simple. But all the brains and everything are going through the Presonus unit. So we go over down here, and let me see if I've got it here, if it shows. Nope, I'm going to go down here. It's kind of hard to see, but anyway. There's a little icon. It looks like a dial. That's what it looks like. You click that on it, and you'll see, there it is, universal control. At this time, though, even though this unit's here, and I got it set for 64 block size at 48, you could change the sample rate. It does not have a 96 sample rate. I wish it did, but it's got a 48 or a 40 and a 42. Those are the two here. I'm going back this way. Here. Remember those two little buttons, little lights that were down here? This is the power button. This is actually, it says control, but it's the universe USB input. That tells you that this thing's talking to the laptop, right? That doesn't work like that. When you see that in this color, I think it's, I don't know, I'm colorblind, but anyway, orange or green or whatever, it's not blue. It has to be blue for this thing to recognize what you have on the controller. I'm going back here now. Back up. Here. What you do now is you go over here to where this is the unit, and depending on which one you have, it'll stay right here. It'll be 16 or whatever. You have to have to be able to get this universal thing. This is not something that's free. It's something that you have to go onto the Presonus website, create an account which has your name and stuff on it, and put the serial number in that's on the back of the unit. Now, I bought this one used, and the problem with buying this one, buying and used, is the owner of the original owner, whoever owns that one, who's gone into Presonus, has already registered it. They have to unregister it before you can use the unit, because this will not work without that. Fortunately, the guy, when I bought it off eBay and contacted him. He went back in and had his stuff, this stuff taken off, Then I can go in, and all you do is put the serial number, which is on the back. I don't care what the paperwork says. Go on the back of the unit, copy it down or whatever, and then paste it or print it down on the thing, and it will boing your unit up and give you the universal controller for it. It's just one of the things they do. And in process, it also does a firmware update. Because what you want to do is when you get these, whoever owned it before, or if it's factory, make sure that you do a firmware update on the unit and you have the most up-to-date universal control. The deal with this universal control is it allows you to be able to do all this stuff and get into the basic hardware of the 24R, this unit here. Now I got to just double click it and see this little thing here. It will recognize it now, and it will go back to where you were. You cannot do anything with this until you quit the universal program and restart it again. It will not stop. If you're running live sound and stuff, it won't stop the sound. If you close it down, if something goes dead and stuff, and restart it again, it'll do the little, you know, but I turn your sounds off on your laptop so it doesn't go through the PA. Now, if we go back here, you'll see that both lights are on. That tells you that when you did you double click on the unit, that shows up, that tells you, this light here tells you that it's working. And that's basically it when you do that. Okay? So that's basically it on the universal controller. But you need to go in to Presonus and have them put, and this looks a little crooked here. Okay, I got this kind of stand mounted here a little bit. So, it's not a little bit, that's what it is. Anyway, so that helps, that does that. That allows you to access all that. Now, on these ones here, you'll see, let's go back here, click on, I'm using Event Monitor, that's the one that's over here. And I always start with that. I wish the channels would say on and off instead of mute. Because then you know when you're looking at it and stuff, because everything, I'll get into that after in a second here. Let's get to the monitor thing. So we're on the monitor thing. I want the effects to show up so I can mute individual effects. That way it makes it easy when you're looking at it. You can go, oh, okay, that effect's muted. So because it actually turns on to make sure. I got the colors on it. There we go. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, these actually turn off and on. When you have when it says when the color's on, that means it's muted. When you turn that, it means it's off. And that's the way all these are. But like I said, I wish they just were on and off. Or just said on. That'd be great. You don't have to know if they don't say on, then you know they're off. That's just would be so nice. Like the Yamahas. I like those a lot because of that. Anyway, so if we go up here, let me see if I got the things. I'm going to go. Oh, and you got to click if you want to know what you're doing right now. Now I'm in. This is the event monitor. You have to click. I don't know if you click the whole thing or not. I just usually click the bottom part of it. Anyway, if you click the bottom part of the channel strip, it will bring up what you have set up for that particular output. And so what I have here is a compressor doing the FET. It's called an FET compressor, but it's like old school. It's really cool, easy. There's your ratios, release time, attack time, and then output, input, and then you have an on-off switch, little guy there, and they do work perfect. So when you're setting your levels and stuff, it's really easy. They might have an auto one in here. Here's all the compressors that are available. You have a standard one, you have a tube one, you have an FET, you have a 500 compressor, and then you have a video comp. I'm not going to go through what all of them are. You can look that up. I'll do a thing on that later. Just want to get the basic stuff. And you have This is for outputs, not the inputs. The inputs actually also have not just a limiter, they have a gate on them. So if you're running snare or any of the drum, especially in drum stuff where you have so much saturation on everything, and you want to cut the things off after a little bit, you don't want to have a snare drum or a bass drum mic open all the time. All the channels have gates on them. 32 or 28 or whatever it is, all of them have gates. You don't have to carry around a rack full of stuff to accomplish what you can do on that. They also have the same thing. They have a compressor, and I'm not talking about a little knob. They have all these compressors, the standard, the tube, the FET, and I love that FET is what this one is. The compressor RC500 and the V1 compressor, BT1 compressor, are all available, get rid of that, on every channel. It's fantastic. I mean, I remember carrying big racks, of maybe 1 or 2 racks of nothing but effects gear sometimes, just to be able to gate everything. That was, make sure the bass drum sounded tight. Don't need any of that anymore. It's all here. And also, I'm going to move just down here a little bit. The vintage EQs. There's 5 of those. There's standard, passive, which I didn't really like that. The vintage one, that's what this one is. It's an RC500 EQ and a VT1 EQ. Anyway, those are all available on every channel. I like this one. It looks stupid. It's got a shelve on the top and kind of a shelve on the bottom where the points are changed, but the bottom one, the low frequency, can be shelved anywhere from 35 hertz. So if you're looking to just do it 35, 60 hertz, if you just want to do the subs, or you have a system and you want to do the subs, just turn up the subs. I got this one set, and also they got a high pass filter on the outputs too, and that allows you to bring the system down to where, like on my this little event thing here, you don't want to go into 60. This thing you probably blow the speaker out. Well, I just want, for this particular thing, I do that now. Normally, if I'm on the mains, I'll kill everything below 35. Just knock it out. I can fudge around. Plus, I have the same on the EQ. I have the same low pass and high pass filters, and I can change those around. But anyway, this allows you to be able to go, and there's the high pass thing. That one there, as far as I could tell, is right around 10, might be 12. And so for the very, very highs, for the S's, really, that's what, but it's, when you turn it up a little bit or turn it down a little bit, it really helps control the sound. And then this is a high medium frequencies, I guess. Should be medium high frequencies would be more like it. But anyway, what it does, it's got 3. It's got a 7.2 these are when the notch filters happen. This is where it affects. And usually the 4.8, 4 somewhere in that's what I usually like to get everything some semblance. I'll go back on the other EQ because I don't want to use the one in here for that, although you can. So if you want to keep it even more where you don't want to have to get an EQ external at all, you want to keep it all digital until it comes out of the back of the 24R, go right ahead and do it that way. I don't like doing that. I like to be able to adjust it now that changes depending on what it is. I will use it on like monitors and stuff. I will use the unit in here. I'll show you that in a second here. Excuse me. Anyway, I use the 440. I would just punch it in like you would the old, God, this is like dinosaur stuff, but it sounds really great. Really warm sounding. It doesn't sound cheap or anything. I just really like the way the vintage EQ sounds. Then you have one that you set at 1.6, 700, and you could boost that up. And the nice thing about that is you're boosting that part up on the curve. So if you usually 1 to 1.5, something there, 1.2 or whatever, that usually sounds a little bit funny on a horn. And so I don't usually like to keep those. I'll boost the one before it because it gives a little bit more definitions to a bass and guitar. And so I'll boost those up a little more. Not much. This is only 2 dB up. In this one, I'm just using a compensate. Like I said, it's for this unit here. I've got the thing set for 110. And I like that because then I can boost the bass up and hear the bass without it blowing out the speaker and sounding muddy. But you got a 60 hertz. Wouldn't really recommend that too much. And a 35 hertz. Now the nice thing about these when you're doing these things is because the high pass filter, you can change where you want the signal to come in. If you're doing guitar, your high pass filter should probably be about maybe 80. If you're doing bass guitar, bring it down to 30 or 40. And that's on the individual channels. Anyway, you got that. And then you have a limiter right there, and that's this one here. I haven't got that set up because I don't really need it. The compressor is what works for me. Now what you have here is a EQ, and that's this guy. And because I'm not running a monitor through that, I still might get rid of this and just go back to just reset it to 0, which I think I'm going to do, and this is the effects for it. And on the effects on the thing, I'm using a simple effects thing on it. This is for the plate reverb. I like the plate reverbs, but it's got, God, I don't know. There's tons of them. You got a digital reverb. This is a digital XL reverb, but it's still, it's anyway. It doesn't really matter. Then yeah.
Are you gonna want a salvage?
Yes, I'll make one.
A what?
Yes.
Okay, I'll put it.
Okay, a vintage plate reverb, which is that one, right? And then you've got mono delay, stereo delay, ping pong delay, flange, and stuff, and all those delays and stuff you have. Oh, I know why I did that. Yeah, I'm not using that. I'm using the other one over here anyway. You got a bunch of different delays and a bunch of different reverbs that's available to you. Anyway, get out of there. You just, all you do is click it out. And that's for this. That's what's going through on the effects. And and all you have on your effects for this type of, for your outputs, and what I'm using on this, is just a fader type of thing. When you go into the individual ones, you have much more control over it. But on the output, you don't. You just want to make sure that what I have is I got a level control, and I want to make sure that it's not overloading or not too much on whatever the output's going to be. And that's the same with the main mix. It works exactly the same. So, excuse me. Anyway, that's basically it for this. But just so you know, so when you go into the universal control, when you go into Presonus, make sure you get the information and get an account set up with them. Because what happens is they have a bunch of free stuff, all this fat channel stuff and everything that you get, maybe one fat channel, which is your basic compressor and all that, limiter and all that stuff, is you get that, plus you get all these other plugins, which is what they are, but they're basically activating, because like I said, this is just a control surface. This is not, the reverb's not running through your laptop, it's running into the computer that's on the 24R. So when you're doing anything or adding all this stuff there, you're just turning it on and off. That's already built into the firmware on the 24R. That's why you don't overload your computer. That's why you can use this is an i5 here, right? Intel Core. You're not going to max this thing out. You're not going to stress the RAM because everything that you're using is going. This is just telling that it needs to do whatever you have set up here. It needs more. It needs a compressor on, or it needs the EQ on, that kind of stuff. That all is done just to access that. It takes the place of all the faders and stuff, but really the guts of the unit are all built into that. That's why you don't need a big control thing. If you have a touch screen, you can move these guys. So it's not that big a deal. I'm using a mouse because that's what I usually have Well, I'm putting that back up there. But anyway, and so that's about it for right now. And that allows you to be able to at least get this thing to work and stuff. It just takes a little bit of time. I'll do a bigger run through on certain parts of it as I go. I was on it for about 2-3 months before I wanted to do anything as far as telling you guys how this works, because I didn't want you to get into this and maybe something happened in the laptop when you opened it back up. I couldn't get the thing. It was a piece of brick again. Didn't know. So, but compared to some of the other stuff I've had to use and stuff, this has been great. It doesn't die on me. The meters work perfect now. So whatever you hear coming out of your laptop now, and because the only reason I say that is you're playing a click track or doing music or whatever like that, will show up. It always works through there, but the meters were lagging by a lot, maybe a half second, so it was quite a bit. Now with this last one here, it was a pretty big upgrade on the universal control surface on this thing. The meters work perfect, so they respond just as quick as the meters on here respond just as quick as the analog ones that I have coming out of the back of the unit. That's what I used to depend on, because I knew that they would give me the correct signal. Now everything works in time, as sync as you could expect it. You know, I've seen a lot worse stuff, but you don't have to run any outboard gear. You don't have all this stuff that you have. It's just here on the unit. So anyway, I hope that helps a little bit. Remember, make sure that you have your serial number available and it's released. In other words, nobody else is using that serial number on Presonus control surface. Nobody